So today we have another deep dive. It's been a while. I've been really busy lately with all kinds of things, and I apologize for not getting more Patreon content up lately. Trying to schedule everyone with interviews and things like that has been a challenge, to say the least. This past year plus has just, schedules have been all over the place. It's been really tough to lock people down, to figure out everybody's schedule to where we can make it work. But we'll try and keep trying to get some more really cool interviews soon. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I wanted to do another deep dive, and mainly because I kept getting a few email messages about wanting to address the recent blaster that went for sale from Rock Island Auction, which was the Pawn Stars. It was brought to Pawn Stars, and that's how it went to public and everything like that. And then it got refurbished a little bit, and then went to Rock Island Auctions, and recently sold for $1 million or something like that. So I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about that. Plus, and I've talked about it a little bit in other videos before, and I've put my opinions online. But this way, I want to talk about the original A New Hope Han Solo Hero Blaster in the first place, and we'll kind of work that in. So here we go. As you see on the screen, this is a pre-production, or just about production. You can kind of tell Harrison's hair is just a little bit different. Might have been a costume fitting, not quite sure. But this is the blaster as we see it in the movie, pretty much. It's pretty much looks in the same condition it is in the Chronicles photos from that photo shoot. And that particular photo shoot, they had lots of weapons photographed at the same time, which of course you can see here. I have it larger here. Now, this photo, I have not been able to, I only found it in one spot. I paid to get this. And ever since, there's been a few reference image shares that have happened in the past recent years that have the contact sheet of this shoot, but nothing high res like this. So I know these were scanned in high res. I just haven't seen it except for this photo. This is the only one I have, and it comes normally, it looks like this. But I have obtained this one, and this is the one I don't share anymore because everybody kept removing my watermark and using it as theirs. But let's not get into that. So some of these photos you probably have seen before. Some of these photos you may not have seen before. Some of these photos many people have. Some of these photos people have because I shared them, and then especially these in high res I shared, and they got somebody colorized one, and all the watermarks I put on there were removed. Now I do hide watermarks in these things as well, and those are still there. I can find them, so I know the source. But they're very, very small, and I know where to find them. But I can always tell when someone takes a photo of mine and reshares it as their own. So anyway, this is one of those cases where this is pretty much, as far as we can tell, at least from the left side, we can tell from the contact sheets. This is something someone did on the RPF, but this is the Chronicles photo. You can tell that the mystery disc is pretty much in the same shape. The barrel greebly is pretty much the same shape. So we can assume that it's relatively within that production range. Here's another one I have where I scanned the photo myself, and this is adjusted. And this is the picture of, let's see, let me find the original, maybe. Let's see. Anyway, it was an 8x10 kind of cropped photo, but you've seen the picture before. But anyway, Han is holding it up. It's just a production photo, a promo photo, and you can see that the the weathering on the crossbar is getting there. All the same parts are there, but this is not as far along. Whoop, I lost it. Where was that? Shoot. Oh, here it is. You can see that the same wear patterns are there, but it's not as far along yet. Now I wanted to talk about, let's back up. Let's go to the origins of this blaster, because that ties into the whole Pawn Stars thing. Now, the Pawn Stars / Rock Island auction blaster is, from what I can tell, and I was brought this before it hit Pawn Stars. I was lucky enough to be one of the people who helped verify what it was. Someone brought this to me and asked me what I thought of what I was looking at. And as soon as I saw it, I saw the scope and the top rings. I said, well, those look 100% legitimate. In fact, let's go to that. Let's go to the pictures of the real scope. And these are all pretty much out there now. These are from the auction here. So when I first saw this photo, I think I have this open. Let's go to Photoshop. Aha, okay. So when I first saw this photos of this, I could tell right away that the scope and these top rings looked legitimate. Now this cradle has some tooling marks right here and here that match as well. But then the rest of it, the shapes here, and none of this is not, it's not there. So, not knowing any of the story at the time, being showed the photos, I said, man, the scope looks 100% legit. The top rings look 100% legit. This part looks sort of, but not really. And then the rest of it from here down, it doesn't look right at all. And then, of course, the Mauser's not the same, the upper's not the same, the bull barrel's not the same, the flash hider's not the same, and none of it is even close. So at the time, I didn't know any of the story. I just saw this and I was like, wow, okay, I don't think that the scope is fake. I think the scope is 100% real. I think the top rings are 100% real. And it's really strange because if this is a fake, which is it's not the real blaster, I said, if someone is trying to make it as a fake, they went through it. And if these were fake, I said they went through an extraordinary effort to make the scope and the top rings 100% legit. I've never seen a better recreation ever. But they didn't spare the effort on the rest of it. It just didn't. It was so strange at the time, and with no context, I was just like, "Wow, I don't get it," because the scope is a dead ringer. The top rings are a dead ringer. Part of that cradle is a dead ringer, but the rest of it is just so far off that it didn't make any sense why someone would try to fake it but not even get close. The effort, the contrast and effort was just so bizarre. And then I started finding out more of the story. Well, apparently, the original armorer at Bapty had found the scope and the mount. And this is, from what I understand, is that the mount was destroyed in some fashion or couldn't be used in some fashion. So he took part of the cradle and refabricated the bottom end of it, and then supposedly they had another bull-barreled upper and paired it with this Mauser, or maybe it was the whole Mauser. I'll have to look at the serial numbers here in a bit, and decided to, and they claimed that it was the flash hider or a flash hider. I got to go back and read everything that was said. But anyway, they put together this to try and sell it to Pawn Stars, and they tried to sell it to the prop store. Prop store was the first customer. Prop store rejected it, or didn't meet the offer. I'm not quite sure what actually happened behind the scenes there, but prop store didn't get it or want anything to do with it for whatever reason. I don't know this, like I don't know the details, whether they just didn't meet the price or didn't think it was viable enough. I'm not sure. But in any case, it ended up 2 years later, ended up on Pawn Stars, and in the same condition is. So let me go back, because in Pawn Stars, it ended up looking like this, where the flash hider looked like it had been bead blasted and kind of parkerized, and instead of what we see now, which is they have redone the flash hider to make it look older, but the rest of it is the same. They may have re-blued the frame too, but in any case, it had changed since that. And a lot of people are very familiar with this blaster. So to some people, it's very obvious right off the bat that this is not even the thing. It's not even close. The join here doesn't look the same. These are way scale. In fact, I have this here let's kind of look at this. This is lined up to the scope. So you can see the scope it's the scope. This angles are not correct. The lens is not correct. But you can see here, and you can see these tooling marks right here on the cradle that match up. So pretty crazy. And then we have this photo, of course, which helps as well. But you see everything kind of works and matches up as far as the scope and the top rings, even though these angles aren't exactly the same. And even if you look at the cradle here, you have a line here and there's some tooling marks here and here. Those match up as well. However, when you start to go farther down, look at the A New Hope as it was back in the day. This curve right here is very rounded. This is very rounded. This entire hole scoops up into the bottom of the cradle. Did I just move that? So somehow the geometry changed when they refurbished this piece, because I do think part of the cradle the top part of the cradle is genuinely still there as it was, but you can see that the geometry changes at the bottom half of it, where somehow this was brazed on or welded on. I'm not sure what the heck they did, to be honest. Everything is shifted slightly over as well. This is too long on the new one. The crossbar is completely the wrong size and shape. The thumb wheels are the wrong size and shape. You can see even this, from this point of view, looks similar, right? But then I'll show you a photo here. Look at that. That is not, from this point of view, you can see that it's totally not. And I brighten this up to see that the scoop is not there anymore. Maybe some remnants of it, but look at the change in geometry right here. You can kind of see where new material was grafted on or something, welded on. I'm not quite sure, and then ground down and reformed. I don't know how it was fabricated to be like this. I just know that was changed so much that from about here up is correct, and from there down everything else is incorrect. So maybe it was made similarly, but it's not. In fact, we know that this is a dovetail on the original, and this is this weird setup here, that it's not the same at all. So let me come back to these, see what I have open here. Okay, we'll go right back to our comparison picture here. So these are the new auction photos. These are auctions from Rock Island. Yeah. So what's interesting here, so this is serial number 299415. 299415, it would have been right there, right? So we can tell that this hammer doesn't match the upper and the lock frame. And I cannot see the lower, but this one says 212. So this hammer doesn't belong with this setup either. Also strangely, this hammer, you can see the shadow of the hammer, which you can also see in another photo someplace. But these serial numbers are stamped heavily into the hammer usually. If I don't see a shadow of the new type safety, this is a pre-war hammer that was used for a what seems to be a wartime. This is a wartime lower and upper. So you can tell it's wartime because it has military acceptance proof as well. Plus the machining is always much more rough on the wartime stuff, as well as the safety. So kind of interesting. So this Mauser here, no way, no how, associated with the A New Hope Hero. Neither is the flash hider. And the grips aren't the same. In fact, the grips probably are matched to this gun. But I wanted to talk about how easy it would have been for them to swap parts. Mausers are they're puzzle pieces. They are made to fit guns, but some of the parts are interchangeable with other guns. It just depends on how their hand fit, and they can be adjusted, filed here and there to work together. Because you see a lot of Mausers with mismatched parts, and I'm sure that Bapty had quite a number of them and was able to just swap parts. That's why we see the Naked Runner gun upper. So let's talk about some of this stuff. It's really confusing. So here we go. This is 100% the A New Hope upper right here, 2813. We can do it by serial number. We can match all of the scratchers that we can see. This is the A New Hope upper. This upper is the A New Hope upper. 100%. No doubt. 100%. Now this scope mount, not the scope, nothing. This lower, not the A New Hope lower, not even close. It's not the same whatsoever. How do we know? Well, we can come back here to Photoshop and take a look at the real A New Hope. Let's see, we'll use these as an example, but these were cast from the A New Hope Hero. But I thought I had that open here. Here we go. We can see here the mill marks it's like a fingerprint. You can tell exactly one gun from the other. Even when we don't have the serial, we have all of the dings and scratches and mill marks. And we have this in better resolution. I have another better resolution, but this one's higher resolution, but I can see more detail in another photo I have of it. I just had this one for example. But this is not the same as that other photo. This one, you can see it right there. It's not even close to the same. The milling is completely different. This one is super janky. You can tell that these were brazed. These nuts were brazed on here. You can see the silver solder right there. I cleaned these up because it normally, in the movie, it looked like dark as hell, like this. So, anyway, that's this. So, we know that this is not the New Hope lower, but it is 100% the New Hope upper. Now, here's another photo. I want you to watch this as I go through these, thumb through these here. You can see things in motion that you can't normally see in a still frame. I took every frame there. But you can see that that is the lower. That is the same lower that we see right here. You can see it because of the mill marks. And you can also tell that since this is the same movie and same everything, that is the A New Hope upper. So the New Hope upper don't know about the hammer. We don't know about the bolt. We'll probably never know on those. But this is the New Hope upper. And you can see right here that this is threaded so that this can thread onto the bull barrel. This extension barrel can thread onto the bull barrel. So since these were made by Bapty, you can pretty much assume that those studs and spacers there were silver soldered on. You can even see the silver solder in these screen captures here. But that is not the New Hope lower, but it is 100% the New Hope upper. Now let's go back. We see this gun, or variations of these guns. I'm sure that there were more than one. But here it is from the Naked Runner. Let's see, I thought I had some more. Here's another photo of it. Same one. Here's another one here. Then we have this, and I think this is from Pat. I'm not sure, Pat or somebody from the RPF made this photo here. The Naked Runner gun and then the Sweeney gun looks to be exactly the same kit, right? They just trimmed the box differently, maybe. So this probably was the same upper, the same lower here. It's just the resolution is not good enough to tell. But you can see that Bapty had these bull-barreled Mausers, or a Mauser, in a couple different spots. Now here's another photo, similarly showing some threaded barrel right here. There is a photo someplace. This one's quite a mystery here. There's a really interesting picture of a bull barrel with different bevels. This one, I'm not, in fact, let me open this in Photoshop. Let me see if I can, what we can see in this one here. All right. I don't know what this is a cast of. I can't remember where I got this image, but let's just say that it is a legit cast of something. The serial number 23396 maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, this looks like a real Mauser here. And maybe not. Yeah. I was checking to see if it's an MGC, but anyway, I don't know can't remember where this came from. The RPF someplace, but it's very confusing for me looking at some of these pictures. I can't keep them straight sometimes. Where here it is, this one. So if you look at this bull barrel, the bevels are just so much more flat. Or it could just be the lens distortion in the light. Because this looks the same as those mill marks. Look similar. But the thumb nuts look different. And this one has a pre-war safety. So interesting. This could be a completely different one. You know, the claim that Bapty had made more than one bull-barreled Mauser could be 100% legit. Here we go. So, yeah. I have to watch this movie again. It's really confusing. Because this one now has a latch here on the bull barrel. These nuts look different. Maybe they're flipped. But yeah, the milling does look different, huh? So this looks like it could be a completely different gun right here. So yes, maybe Bapty did have more than one Mauser with bull barrels, but their claim in the Rock Island auction thing was that they made more for Star Wars, which we know that all we ever see in photos from Star Wars, pre-production, post-production, during production, is that they have this one, just this one. There's no other that they had on hand. And if they had it on hand, you don't see any photo evidence of it whatsoever. So Bapty probably made more than one of these kind of bull barrel things for uses in different movies. We could see enough discrepancies in some of these things to say that they're different enough. But and they did swap uppers and lowers to suit different things, because we can see it 100%. There's photo evidence that they swapped the upper from the A New Hope upper to the lower of something else. So there's no telling how all this stuff ended up and how many were actually made. Let's not even get to the scope. I think I have a better picture of that scope rail here. So this is the A New Hope scope mount, scope, everything. This is the scope for the A New Hope. And this is on an M712, a 1930 fully automatic Mauser. And this has a dovetail. This is how it was in Star Wars. So we know that these things got moved around from gun to gun just for use. Now here you can see as well, here's the dovetail. Here's the same Mauser without the scope attached. And I have photos here that I have taken. I rented this movie and took a screenshot. You can see that the scratches on the scope were there from this movie. You can see here it has two screws, and this is where the thumb screw either dimpled or went in and threaded. I'm not quite sure. But you can see this is the A New Hope mount. Scope and mount. So we know that Bapty moved these pieces around to suit whatever, whatever production needs were at the time. And we know that it ended up on the New Hope Hero a certain way, and that they did have things. But we also know from all the photo evidence that in Star Wars, only this example, as you see it in the main, as we all know it, it's the only one we ever see. This is the exact same gun here, that it was just painted, added some greablies, and that's all there is to it. Really. We can talk about the mystery disc. We don't really know for sure what was there. We can assume that it was probably, this is Pat's gun, so we can assume that it was probably, here's a good mystery disc shot, that it was probably just one of those Imperial discs that was glued on and fell off, or either fell off or they took it off when it was being holstered a lot, because Harrison Ford had to holster it and draw it. It probably popped off pretty quick. Now, I know from my own experience of working with the real Mausers and making firing ones, that if you glue, even using epoxy or super glue, you glue those tomtit cylinder pieces on the front, and if it's blued, painted, or just blued and then painted over, either way, I've had this experience in both of them, where the tomtit cylinder green leaves, the recoil would knock those things off. And when it comes off, it leaves a bare metal steel right underneath it. It takes the bluing, it takes the paint, takes the whole thing off, and it leaves a perfect outline of the glue, the glue mark that you had on there. And so that's why I think that's exactly what happened. They had a greebly stuck here, and it came off. And it just left because they painted this lower. Some people think it's blued. I think it's just, it was painted. The whole lower was painted. You can see it's just got a different sheen here and everything. That it just wears differently when it's painted. The only way I can replicate that paint, that way it looks, is when it's painted. And when that popped off, you have a lip of glue. That's why you kind of see, like people thought it was milled for a long time. You have a lip of glue. You have all the telltale marks of when you pull that off, just like I experienced. And you have the little hole. So the imperial disc has a hole. So if you just spray that thing after it's already glued on there, then, or even if it's not this disc, if it's the one, the other one that's on the DLT-19, it also has a hole in the center. So if you glued that on there, sprayed the whole lower black, or even if they sprayed the upper, there's no telling. I imagine they didn't because of the moving parts. But if they sprayed the lower black, and then that greebly fell off, you would have that little hole, that little black dot in the middle. Why don't I have a better picture of that thing? Let's see if this is better. There it is. You would leave that black overspray right there, your lip of glue, and then your steel would be exposed. So that's how I think that was made. Pretty simple to me. But in any case, that's really all there is to that. Now the Tomtit cylinders, there's 3 of them. Let me see if I can pull one out here and show you. So I have one of the original Reed cylinders. So this is what it looks like. Most everybody's going to be familiar with this. Now, from the tapered section down is not used. They had 3 of these. I don't know why they chose to do it this way, but they did. They had 3 of these cut in different sections, and then one of them is stacked this way. The middle one is stacked. No, the top one is upside down. Then the middle one is like this, and then the bottom one is like this. Now, every time I make it, I have to count the number of fins to make sure that it's correct. Anyway, they were just cut and glued on. Pretty straightforward. And you can see that they had to make clearance for the bar here later, because it looks like there's a cut line right down there. It looks like they just used a knife and just cut away whatever they didn't need to make room for it. It's pretty crude. And then all of these paint chips, as you can see here, happened over time. Where's that photo? And they match up with the mount coming on and off. Why do I think the mount came on and off? Because, man, I guess I don't have that in my folder. But I did do a screenshot. So from A New Hope, you can see that one of the Imperial officers. So when Luke and Han get their stormtrooper outfits and they go to the control room, as soon as they bust in the door and Chewie and they kill the 2 guards in there, you can see one guy as he's falling. You can see the A New Hope blaster minus the scope and upper mount in the dude's holster. And I paused it. You know what? I'm going to pause my recording here, my screen recording, and I'm going to try and find that so I can show you. Be right back. Okay. We're back. All right. Check this out. So, that's got the Rasan. Okay, let's see. Right here. Boom. You can totally see that this is the New Hope without the scope mount. Ah, there we go. He's going for it. You can see the dovetail. You can see the two screws just like in the sitting target. I have better screenshots because I was doing this in frame by frame. But anyway, just wanted to show you guys that for sure you can totally tell that that is the A New Hope, and those scratch marks line up with the mount coming off. But yeah, so sorry, this is not. You can kind of see it here. Let me see if I can pull anything out of this real quick. Any highlight detail. You can kind of see it where this thing is got scratch marks there, and they kind of line up with when this gets moved. But anyway, that's it. So let's talk about how this was cast as well and used for others. So we can tell that this was cast. We can tell this is the A New Hope hero. Now, for some reason, maybe they cast it without the flash hider on, and then they glued the cast flash hiders back on. I'm not quite sure because this is farther out and it's turned. I'm sure that casting it with this on may have posed the challenge of getting it out of the mold. So maybe they did that separately. Not quite sure, but we can tell that these scratch marks line up with these scratch marks. And of course the serial number we know is there. So we know that this is the A New Hope upper and lower. This is the gun as it was without the damn things, the studs on there. Were they debrazed? I don't know. It's strange because we can see that the rest of the milling stuff is the same. The grips match. This time you see it cast with the safety in the up position. Oh, the other one is the lump that's on the A New Hope. So possibly a repair at some point, because this becomes a weak point in Mausers, where when a bolt stop cracks or breaks, this bolt stop and this small thin piece of metal here are what stops the bolt from flying into your face and killing you or injuring you. So it's possible that over the years, that since this Mauser was used for prop work or whatever happened to it in the past, it's possible that this piece of metal here got tired, and as a safety precaution, after repair, they put a reinforced block here to help keep that safe. I'm not sure. All I know is that this is a pretty weak point for Mausers, and with a real Mauser, you always need to inspect the bolt stop and the frame up here where it can start to deform and get tired, fatigued. So that's maybe the reason for that lump there. We don't really know. But the cast has the same lump as you see on the original Hero. Now here's the contact sheet. This is about as good as it's going to get. It's a pretty low res, unfortunately. But we can see that these photos exist. Oh, another interesting thing I'll show you here in a second is this GIF I made. Where is it? Is it? No. Here. You can see here, I just made this for comparison's sake, but you can see how the flash hider moves up and down. Well, in this black and white photo, it's laying on the table, so you can tell it wasn't secured very well. It was able to move. So when it's laying here flat, the flash hider isn't canted up, but since when it's laying basically like this, it's being pushed up in the one photo, so that's why it looks like that. But you can see, you know, even during production, these scratches got added, but this cut here in the wood's still there. That's original, but production took its toll on this gun as well. But let me go back to what I was talking about. Yeah, there are photos. I just don't know. I've never seen the really big versions of the rest of these. For some reason, they're out there someplace. Somebody's got them. But the casts, I want to talk about the casts again. Here is also the New Hope Hero lower, because you see the scratches here. The upper, you see the scratches here. But this was a second cast. This one was cast with the sight. I mean the safety in the off position. And we also see this little circle here, which is probably some residue from when the greebly was glued on here. Man, so it's real confusing. It's crazy to think that. And was this one cast with the spacers and stud on? Because the bull barrel and the flash hider, it looks like this was cast with the flash hider in place, as it was the A New Hope Hero. So was it also cast, like all these Muppet and Return of the Jedi blasters, just have it cast with the studs? Don't know. It sure looks like it. It looks like that's the case. We got the lump here. We know this is the correct lower. We know it's the correct upper. It's just there's two casts of this thing. So at least two molds were made of the New Hope Hero. One possibly as it was in the movie. Nope, don't say it. And one, look at this, cleaned up. So this one clearly this cast clearly didn't have the brazed on things. So crazy. So maybe it was cast before that happened. So this was maybe cast pre-production with just the bull barrel, because we don't see any of these scratches here, the new scratches anyway. It's possible that this was cast pre-greeblied up and having the mount on it. And it's just a bull-barreled Mauser. It's very possible. And then it was cast later, after or during production, with the bull barrel, the flash hider, and the studs on it. That could explain why the Mersan has the flash hider completely in a different spot and turned and everything. Maybe they cast the two pieces separately, because it just this is my way of trying to make it logical. I think this cast may have been pre-production. This cast may have been during production or post-production. So there are a couple casts, and they have in the Lucasfilm archives. There are a lot of these, and a lot of these, and these in the archives still. There's more than you think. I've seen pictures of quite a bunch of them actually. So this cast still exists. I wonder if the molds still exist. That's curious. But anyway, there's a lot of mystery revolving this blaster. It doesn't. I have to go back and watch when it gets fired and things like that. But let's just rule this out. Everything about this is bunk except for the cradle from a certain point up. The top rings and the scope. Those are the originals. Everything else from the original A New Hope is gone. It's just gone. The thing that I read from the guy from the Bapty was that I think it was in the 80s when the government had a buyback. Bapty, a lot of Bapty's assets were either seized or bought back or whatever and destroyed. So it's very likely that the original 2813 Mauser is gone, destroyed. It's possible it could be still out there. Parts of it could still be out there, but I imagine if they had that, they probably would have gone to great lengths to use that to sell along with this thing. So, yes, there is some lineage here. There's some Bapty lineage here, But as for being on set for Star Wars, made for Star Wars, used for Star Wars, that Mauser, no way, no how. You just there's no photo evidence to back up the fact that they say that it was made for production. It wasn't. They had multiples apparently in the past for whatever reason of this style of bull-barreled Mauser, and they did mix match parts. We can tell that by photo evidence that they did mix match parts to fit the needs of whatever production they were doing. They used scope mounts differently. They used scopes. They used lowers. They used uppers. They just interchanged that stuff as needed. So the claim that the auction blaster was one of 3 made for the movie is total bullshit. That's them trying to capitalize, and well, they made $1 million with that story. So I guess whatever works. But there's a cool shirt on the RPF. We know the truth, and it's just the rings and the scope. That's pretty funny. So yeah, the Rock Island Auction Blaster is not what it was represented to be, and I think that they did tell most of the truth, but it was very hidden in the small print in the story. All of the news and all of the hype around it was that, hey, this is the Han Solo blaster, and they kind of misrepresented the facts of it to capitalize on that and make the most money they could. So that's it. Kind of a shame, but also kind of cool that this scope showed up, that it was just sitting in someone's drawer for a long time. That's pretty neat. It also sheds a bit of light on how these things were made back then. I know someone commented about how this scope in particular had a very large notch here. I think that they may have done that by necessity, because usually these are not that deep either. I'm sure it needed to be taken apart or something for some reason, some point in its 100+ years of existence. So, if you need to get a tool in there, I would imagine just making those notches wider so you can do it easier the next time is probably why that's done. No way to know for sure. Here's that shadow of a serial number, so kind of strange there as well. Was this reprofiled? I don't know. It's too much guesswork there to really know for sure. But anyway, that is the A New Hope blaster. Let me see what else I can cover here. I think we went over everything as far as these casts. Pretty interesting. Let me see if there's any other cool photos I have I can share. This is kind of a neat picture. We don't know when this is exactly. I think there is a news article that goes along with this about when this was taken, but I don't recall. But this little girl is holding the blaster right there with their weird paper funky hat. Pretty cool. This is kind of a rare picture. I don't remember where this came from either. So here's my picture that got colorized. Lots of neat pictures. There's another one of those casts. I saw this online one day. This is a pretty cool. You don't really see that too often. What else? These promo photos aren't very good quality. Let's see. I'll show you some rare photos here. This is a pretty rare to see all of these as well. This is from the Rolling Stones photo shoot. They're not really suitable to get any good information from them as far as details. it's just not. It's just the scan isn't there, but kind of a fun shoot as well. That's really about it, guys. So that's the New Hope Hero Blaster. Give me just a second. I'll show you something. Okay, we're back. Yep, we're back. This is my live firing real Mauser Han Solo replica. Now I did this early on. I did this quite a while ago before the pictures were good enough for me to tell if it was blued or painted. And mine is still blued. I need to actually take it apart and paint the lower to make it a bit more accurate. But the rest is pretty good. I did redo mine with my stencil set and everything. And it does have a real scope as well. Now mine is also made with a Dark Energy Creations kit. And I think this is the best scope mount kit, the steel machined version that's out there. I mean, it has the how do I show that? The flattened mount parts and everything, and the Field Marshal one doesn't have that. Field Marshal's one is really good, but being rough cast, that steel is very hard to work. Now the Field Marshal one has the offset mounts a little bit more accurate, but yeah, so this is quite a number of years ago, but this is my personal firing replica of it. And for you gun people, it is empty. But yeah, still one of the coolest blasters of all time. Doesn't kill any stormtroopers, but it's a very cool, iconic looking, kind of a neat thing. But just last bit of show and tell there, so you can see it. Of course, my scope is real. But anyway, yeah, so I think that's about it. That's all I can really think of. I think this video is getting pretty long. It's almost an hour now. There really isn't much more to say about it, except for that the Pawn Stars one, I think that was the main reason to do this video, was to kind of address what it is and what it isn't. And the New Hope Hero, as we know it, is gone, but parts of it remain. Whoever bought it for $1 million, I hope it was worth it. That's a pretty expensive scope and top rings, but we know at least that that there are casts out there of it in various stages of its life. These are colorized as well, but here's a pretty decent up-res I did. But so that's about all there is to it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking with it. Hopefully I can get some more interviews and content up soon. Hopefully this isn't too boring. I bet a lot of this is everybody already knew, and the pictures everybody's already seen. So that's kind of why I left this one for quite a while to do. But I figured now is as good as time any with the Pawn Stars, or Rock Island auction coming to a close, and us discovering that there's $1 million scope out there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.